Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to take you into the heart of one such moment. The moment India didn't just build a missile, it built a statement. A thunder, a roar, a BrahMos. This missile, faster than sound, deadlier than fear, and smarter than the enemy, was not built to start wars, no. It was built so no war needs to be fought. When the BrahMos missile was unveiled to the world, it was not merely the introduction of a high-speed, precision-guided weapon. It was the emergence of a new voice in global defense, a voice that came not from centuries-old superpowers, but from a nation long underestimated, often overlooked, and consistently challenged. BrahMos became more than a missile. It became a declaration that India was no longer just a participant in global affairs. It was now a leader, a builder, a force that would not wait for permission to rise. The name itself derived from two great rivers, the Brahmaputra of India and the Moskva of Russia, symbolized a partnership. But the impact of the missile would go far beyond geopolitics. It redefined how India was perceived. For decades, India was seen as a country rich in history, but slow in self-defense advancement. It was a land of culture, spirituality, and civilization, yes, but rarely viewed through the lens of cutting-edge military innovation. BrahMos shattered that perception. In a world where deterrence is often defined by speed, accuracy, and power, BrahMos checked all boxes and then some. Flying at nearly 3 times the speed of sound, capable of striking targets with surgical precision, it stood tall among the best in the world. But its real power wasn't just in speed or force. It was in symbolism. This missile carried the weight of decades of struggle, of a country that had to fight for its freedom, of a people who had been invaded, ruled, and divided. And now, from those very ashes, it rose with a weapon that didn't just say we are ready to defend. It said we are not to be trifled with. To the adversaries across the border, especially Pakistan, BrahMos was a wake-up call. But to the world, it was a revelation. That revelation was this: India is not just catching up, it is leaping ahead. BrahMos wasn't created to show off or to flex military muscle unnecessarily. It was developed with strategic wisdom and calm confidence. Its existence is a quiet roar, a whisper to the world that India has arrived, not just with heritage and hope, but with hardware and high-tech power. It is a missile forged in fire and vision, not just as a weapon of war, but as a shield of sovereignty. And through it, India did not just showcase capability. It showcased clarity, purpose, and a new chapter of national pride that no longer needed validation from the West or fear from the East. When India tested and deployed the BrahMos missile, it didn't just make global headlines. It sent an unspoken but unmistakable shockwave across its western border. Pakistan, a nation that has often responded to India's advancements with threats, was now facing something it couldn't counter easily. The BrahMos wasn't just another missile, it was a game changer. With its blistering speed of Mach 3, pinpoint precision and ability to be launched from land, sea, and air, it redefined the region's military balance. But what truly changed the dynamic was that India didn't need to fire a single shot to demonstrate its dominance. Just the existence of BrahMos in India's arsenal was enough to alter the mindset of its adversary. Pakistan, which has historically responded with aggression or saber-rattling, found itself in a position of deep discomfort. It was not prepared for a weapon so advanced, so swift and so silent in its threat. Its military capabilities, while robust in their own right, lacked a credible answer to BrahMos. This imbalance did not go unnoticed. It sparked internal discussions, forced hurried diplomacy, and rattled strategic planning within Pakistan's military leadership. It was as if a new kind of war had already been fought and lost. Psychological warfare, where dominance is established without even crossing the border. There were no battles, no bombings, no casualties, yet the fear was real. The deployment of BrahMos served as a powerful deterrent. Every time a conflict seemed to escalate or tensions threatened to boil over, there was a visible hesitation from across the board. That hesitation wasn't rooted in diplomacy or goodwill. It was rooted in sheer fear of what could happen in the first 5 minutes of a BrahMos strike. Pakistan knew that the missile's speed would make interception nearly impossible, and the accuracy would render traditional bunkers and hiding spots ineffective. The cost of provocation had suddenly become far too high. This fear also extended beyond the military sphere into political and public consciousness. Think tanks in Pakistan started questioning their own country's preparedness. Media outlets began raising concerns. International observers noted a shift in tone whenever India's missile capabilities were discussed. All of it pointed to one reality. India had achieved something rare. It had managed to command respect and caution from its biggest rival without ever needing to ignite a war. The BrahMos stood as a silent sentinel, reminding everyone that sometimes the mere possibility of destruction is enough to keep peace intact. The psychological supremacy India gained was more powerful than battlefield success because it settled the equation before it even began. When India introduced the BrahMos missile to the world, it wasn't just another addition to its defense arsenal. It was a technological revelation that left military experts, strategic analysts, and global superpowers stunned. The BrahMos missile, developed jointly by India and Russia, combined speed, accuracy, and flexibility in a way that had rarely been seen before. Traveling at nearly 3 times the speed of sound, Mach 2.8 to 3, it became the world's fastest supersonic cruise missile, outpacing anything the Western or Eastern military complexes had operational at the time. This wasn't just about building a fast missile. It was about creating a system so advanced that even countries with far larger defense budgets took notice. What made BrahMos even more shocking to the world was its versatility. It could be launched from land, sea, air, and even submarine platforms, giving India a multi-dimensional strike capability. Most nations struggle to make a weapon system work reliably from one platform, but India achieved interoperability across 4. This kind of technological integration demonstrated a level of defense engineering maturity that was previously thought to be out of reach for a developing nation. In fact, many countries that had once offered India technology with limitations or restrictions were now watching a homegrown innovation that could outperform many of their own offerings. The missile's precision added another layer of global awe. With near-zero circular error probability, CEP, BrahMos was not just fast, it was accurate, hitting its intended target with pinpoint accuracy. This meant it was not a blunt weapon of war, but a surgical strike tool capable of neutralizing high-value assets without collateral damage. That combination of speed and precision made interception nearly impossible. Modern air defense systems simply don't have the reaction time or algorithmic intelligence to lock onto and shoot down something moving that fast and that low. For military strategists around the world, this was a wake-up call that the balance of power in Asia was shifting, not just militarily, but technologically. Adding to the shock was the timeline and the scale of indigenous participation. Unlike other high-profile defense programs that drag on for decades, the BrahMos program achieved operational status in record time and with deep involvement from Indian scientists and engineers. It wasn't a system India bought, it was one it built with confidence, with ambition, and with clarity of purpose. For years, the global narrative had been that cutting-edge defense technology belonged to the West or to a handful of elite powers. But here was India, rewriting that script with data, performance, and results that the world could no longer ignore. The creation of the BrahMos missile is not just a triumph of engineering. It is a testament to the sheer willpower and intellectual brilliance of Indian minds. At its core, BrahMos is a symbol of what happens when a nation believes in itself, invests in its talent, and decides to stand independently in the most demanding arena of technological warfare. For decades, India was seen as a country that imported defense systems, a nation dependent on the West or former allies for security equipment. But the story of BrahMos turned that perception on its head. It emerged from a vision that dared to believe India could not only keep up with the global military powers, but could in fact lead them in innovation and precision. The development of BrahMos wasn't just about assembling parts or signing deals. It was about mastering the science behind high-speed propulsion, guidance systems, aerodynamic control, and real-time data computation. These aren't fields that forgive mistakes easily. They demand excellence, sacrifice, and an uncompromising attention to detail. Indian scientists, engineers, and defense strategists poured years of their lives into making this missile not just functional, but flawless. They worked through nights, they overcame budgetary constraints, and they pushed past global skepticism with only one fuel: belief in the power of Indian innovation. What makes the BrahMos project even more profound is that it represents a uniquely Indian approach to problem solving. The minds behind it did not try to replicate what other nations had done. Instead, they reimagined the entire system to suit India's geography, strategic needs, and technological ecosystem. The missile's dual-stage propulsion system, combining a solid booster and a liquid-fueled ramjet, is not just powerful, it's brilliantly adapted to deliver a lethal payload with remarkable efficiency. The software and algorithms guiding the missile, developed by Indian coders and scientists, allow it to adjust its course mid-flight, evade enemy defenses, and hit with ruthless precision. This is not borrowed brilliance, it is original, indigenous. The success of BrahMos has also ignited a spark across India's young scientific community. It has shown millions of students, researchers, and engineers that their minds are capable of world-class achievements. It has infused the defense ecosystem with pride, urgency, and ambition. The confidence generated by BrahMos is not limited to the battlefield. It echoes in classrooms, laboratories, and research centers across the country. It's the clearest proof yet that Indian intelligence is not just about exams or theories. It's about action, invention, and execution at the highest level of global competition. India's rise on the global stage is not characterized by loud declarations or aggressive displays of dominance, but by a quiet, steady, and deeply rooted confidence. It is the kind of confidence that doesn't need applause to feel validated, that doesn't seek constant recognition to affirm its worth. It comes from centuries of resilience, from a civilization that has withstood invasions, colonialism, and internal upheaval, yet never lost its sense of identity, dignity, or direction. Unlike nations that equate power with noise, India has taken a different path, one that is deliberate and deeply disciplined. This quiet confidence is reflected in how India approaches its military advancements. When the BrahMos missile was developed, India did not launch a global PR campaign. It didn't issue threats or demand respect. Instead, it let the missile's speed, precision, and versatility speak for themselves. That is the Indian way. When the world watches with skepticism, India answers with results. When it is challenged, it responds not with chaos, but with calm capability. And when its sovereignty is tested, it stands its ground, not to provoke, but to protect. That restraint is not weakness, it is strength under control. In global diplomacy, this same quiet confidence shines. India does not align itself blindly with any one power block. It charts its own course, rooted in its values and long-term vision. It maintains relationships with nations across ideologies, never compromising its sovereignty or succumbing to pressure. While others build alliances on the basis of fear or economic dependency, India's partnerships are built on mutual respect and strategic balance. Its soft power, too, grows not through manipulation, but through the cultural, spiritual, and intellectual wealth it shares with the world, whether through yoga, cinema, or its democratic ideals. At home, this confidence is visible in how India has embraced self-reliance, investing in its own talent and industries. Instead of constantly comparing itself with the West, it is focused on building indigenous systems. Whether in defense, space, or digital infrastructure, the results are speaking louder than any slogan could. It launched a space mission to Mars at a fraction of NASA's cost, developed a digital payment infrastructure that rivals the world's best, and now produces weapons and technologies that once had to be imported, all without loud celebration, without chest thumping, but with the quiet satisfaction of a job done right. This inner strength is a result of knowing who you are. It's what allows India to remain unshaken by propaganda or provocation, to move forward without shouting about every step, and to achieve greatness on its own terms. True power is often misunderstood as the ability to dominate through sheer strength or military might, but real, lasting power comes from belief and vision. It begins from the conviction that a nation, a people, or even a single individual has a purpose that transcends the battlefield. Firepower may win battles, but belief and vision shape the course of history. It's belief that drives innovation, fuels courage in the face of adversity, and builds a foundation strong enough to weather any storm. Without belief, weapons are just tools. With it, they become symbols of sovereignty, pride, and the collective will of a nation. India's journey stands as a testament to this truth. The development of systems like the BrahMos missile wasn't born from a desire to intimidate, but from a deep-rooted belief that India had the right and the responsibility to protect itself without dependence on others. It came from a vision that a country with a legacy of knowledge, science, and innovation could stand tall among the technological giants of the world. That vision didn't arise overnight. It was forged over years of quiet effort, tireless dedication, and relentless refusal to accept the narrative that global leadership belonged only to a select few. The belief that India could lead was not always supported by circumstances. There were setbacks, resource limitations, international sanctions, and a long history of colonial suppression that had once told India it wasn't enough. But vision changes everything. It gives direction when others doubt, it offers clarity in chaos, and it turns obstacles into opportunities. Indian scientists, engineers, thinkers, and soldiers believed not just in the technology they were building, but in the future they were building it for. They envisioned an India that no longer asked for a seat at the table. It built its own table. Firepower may trigger fear, but belief inspires generations. It's why nations remember leaders who had a dream more than those who carried a sword. Vision creates movements, unites people, and drives change that outlasts war and conflict. India's defense strength is real, and its missiles are powerful, but they are only reflections of something deeper, the dream of a sovereign, self-reliant, and respected nation. That's the power that truly matters. In the end, it's not the size of your arsenal that makes you powerful. It's the size of your purpose, the strength of your vision, and the unshakable belief that you were meant to rise, no matter how many times you were told to stay down.